Good morning and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today we're going to look at Trump's new great game. This is an adaptation of the modified or the Heartland approach, Mackinder's Heartland theory. And I get the feeling that when you analyze the Heartland theory of Mackinder and what is happening, you find that there's a similarity. Of course, it's modified with times and the situation, but there it is. It's there, and it's there for us to see. Are we understanding this or not is the question, but let's analyze this. What is Heartland theory of Mackinder? He said, he who rules East Europe commands the heartland. He who rules the heartland commands the world island. He who rules the world island commands the world. Well, it sounds sort of funny, but let's look at this map and understand it. You get a better idea of the story when you look at it from a map. Okay. This is the heartland. The heartland is generally Russia, Siberia, right? The heartland. Because the maximum, that's the core. And he says anyone who ruled East Europe commands the heartland. And anyone who rules the heartland commands the world island. And world island is Asia. And of course, Europe and Asia. And whoever rules the world island rules the world. This is his theory. Is this what Trump is doing? I think so. I think so fully. Right? And that's what we're going to discuss today. That's actually a very interesting proposition if you look at it from that point of view. Okay. Look at it. And let's see what happened since the Iran-Iraq war. And I've been talking of it loosely in many podcasts. But today I thought, let me put this in focus as to how this new Heartland theory or Trump's great game adapts itself to the modified Heartland theory. End of the Iran-Israel war, what did we see? We saw, of course, the hotspots are there: Israel, Syria, Yemen, Iran. But American control extended from Israel, that is the Mediterranean, Israel, Syria, to our neighborhood, Pakistan. Complete. The Chinese were kicked out. End of story. Everyone knows this. I mean, it's nothing new. Chinese don't have a leg to stand on. They can do the trade with Arabia, Saudi Arabia, and their links with China, I mean, Iran are there, but not so strong. We know that. That's a shaky thing. I wouldn't say shaky, it's weak. It's simply weak. It's not shaky. It's very, the intent is strong, but the actualities of that relationship are weak. Okay. That's the fundamental. Then what happened? Then a series of events have happened which forces us to believe what I'm trying to talk of. Right. Sorry. Look, then you see in the past 6 months, 7 months, trouble in Taiwan, trouble in Taiwan, Philippines area with the Chinese, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal. All these have gone into some kind of political turmoil. There's nothing military about it, really. Political turmoil. Of course, the thing between Philippines, Taiwan, China has got military overturns, but largely politico-military posturing. But when you look at Myanmar, when you look at Bangladesh, when you look at Nepal, when you look at Thailand, when you look at Indonesia, some kind of color revolution thing, instability. Now, this instability, if you see, look at it from a Chinese perspective. There's a ring of instability around China. I mean, one way of looking at it is there's a ring of instability around India also. But this line, if you connect the dots, has pressures on India and pressures on China. Okay, this control over the Middle East pressurizes India. So India is caught between these red dots and this, red and white and red and black. There are, instabilities built or excess control built. And here you have complete US control. Here there's no control. It's open instability seeping into China and seeping into India. And in this comes now Trump's quest for Afghanistan and his foothold into Pakistan. And then trying to pressurize China from this area, the West. Simultaneously, right, here, through Myanmar, Bangladesh, we all keep talking of the Chinese entry into Bangladesh. Here it is, pressurizing China. So what's he doing actually? He is trying, essentially, the latest moves are to control this land, Heartland. Of course, the original Heartland is this, but this Heartland now extends up to Kazakhstan. What does that do? Now, this American presence in Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and whatever, that entire area, and in the Middle East, and this put pressures on China. It put pressures on India. It controls Iran itself. It also controls Pakistan. It controls the southern belly of Russia. And this is Ukraine. So this is a modified story which is coming out. How many of us have realized it? And in this, India is the pivot. India, you upset India by tariff and all this. Are these things which are happening in Manipur or Kashmir, Ladakh, whatever is happening, is there a link? Is this a domino effect which is happening from Nepal to Ladakh? So there is something happening in this belt. But as this is happening, you see Trump is getting hold of this area. It's a modified heartland. You control this area, you control all the powerful nations of the world. And you control the resources of the world. Because you control this and you control this area, you are controlling the ocean, you're controlling the Mediterranean, and this kind of a destabilization, the American presence already there, you're already in control of the Pacific. And China is definitely not in control of the Pacific. It put pressures on China from both sides. And this is, everyone feels that China is going to be pressurized from its seaboard. That's the rich part of China and the strong part of China. This is the weak part, the weak back door, I call it, the back door of China. You open this back door, China is vulnerable, hugely vulnerable. Xinjiang, Tibet, Yunnan, especially from Myanmar. Forget about the fact there's rare earths and all that. Now, combined with this are the minerals and resources. Kazakhstan, all these Central Asian republics, Turkmenistan, even Afghanistan. For all you know, you might be looking at Afghanistan for minerals now. Myanmar is all about minerals. And Ukraine. So the new great game is about resources, putting pressure on China and India and Russia and Iran. It's very apparent if you look at it from this point of view. Well, you might say, oh no, this has not happened and all. No, but let me back it up with my data, date-wise. First, this whole story starts in June when Trump embraces Pakistan. Okay, this is from Al Jazeera. It says tactical romance or a new inner circle. It's not a tactical romance. Now, right, if you look at this, Pakistan is a critical factor in this. Why? Pakistan gives the gateway. Pakistan, Afghanistan, and entry here into Central Asian republics. You might say, "Oh no, what's this chap talking of Central Asian republics?" I'll get to it. Then what happens on 22nd June? Midnight Hammer. What happens post Midnight Hammer? You get control of this whole story here. China is shown to be ineffective. There's something happening. We have to realize this. And it's happening in front of our eyes. All of us are talking of India, China, USA, India, USA, Russia, but the macro picture is emerging. With all this, the way things are going in Russia and between Russia and Europe and that war going on, Russia is fixed. It can do it. Actually, Russia is able to do nothing. And if you think the Trump trade war is foolish, it's not. It's put a huge hamstring on China and India. There's no doubt. Right? And we can keep talking. China is suffering from involution. So a trade war on that, China is off the grid. China is doing something else because probably China is a stronger nation in terms of many things. India is under the pump. India is also a strong nation. It might not bend to what USA wants. It won't, in fact. But that's not their way of doing things. They're forcing it. Okay, so we've spoken of Midnight Hammer. Then comes this great 26th July. Look at this. 1 month later, what happens? Who's this fellow? Kurila, the ex-CENTCOM commander. He comes to Pakistan. There's a conference of all the Central Asian chiefs of defense staff. All these guys come. And who's this man? Munirji. Munir is the central man in this. And before this, Munir goes to China and comes back. After this, Munir goes to Central Command and spends 4 days there. That's the second trip. And now Munir is already there for the third trip. We'll get news of that. Okay, so this happens. Who are these fellows? Look, these are the chaps. Commander Michael Kurila with leadership from Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Only Turkmenistan was not present. And what's the need for a regional chiefs of defense staff conference in Islamabad, where the US is in attendance? So it's making way. And then comes, this is followed by Munir's visit, second visit to USA. And this newfound friendship between Kurila and Munir. Follow this up 1 month later. So this happens on 26th July. End July, Sergey Gore is made the ambassador to India and a special envoy for South and Central Asian affairs. It's happening in sequence. Go back to that map. So the ambassador is here. He's also looking after Central Asian affairs and the South Asian affairs, which means Nepal, VAO, sub, including Pakistan. So he can coordinate everything. And India is the pivot for all this story. The story between India and USA is not over. You might think I'm talking like, Frederick Forsyth or Tom Clancy novel or something like that. But that's the way things are unfolding in front of us. We need to realize it. I'll keep going back and forth. So you understand, the sequence gets into you. And he's got a direct ear to the president. So he's going to shape this entire area. And he's going to also pressurize India for, following the American path. And that's coming amply through all their statements from there. And it's also coming amply through what's happening in the UN General Assembly. This is being followed up. With India, there's a mutton Jeff approach. There's a mutton Jeff approach. And we'll talk of it today evening in the Three Good General show with General Rajiv Narayanan and General Dushyant Singh, and of course with Sri Ayerji in the evening, 8 o'clock. Join us then. Right? Now, this is the interesting thing. 1 week, 31st, this thing earlier this month, 1 week after this appointment, something which never caught our eye. Now, we are more interested in what's happening around. You will read the Central Asian Times, this comes out, 7th September, earlier this month. I mean, we're talking about 2 weeks before this. US President Donald Trump has a great conversation with Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev. See, he's already reached out. And then Trump also speaks to Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. And with both sides highlighting how to increase this strategic partnership. Remember, Uzbekistan and USA had a strategic partnership going when Afghanistan was on the boil. But after that, it died. Now it's restarted. Right? Now the point is, will Trump go the route? Will he keep this engagement sustained? Of course, he's already, look, the Chief of Defense Staff story is first, all these Central Asian republics are largely military controlled or controlled by strongmen. Strongmen need strong militaries. And the military chiefs of these strongmen virtually run the country. They are part of the policy. Of course, Pakistan policy is only one-man show today. Munir. And so are these people who have the ears of the heads of their government. And they're largely strongmen. There's no democracy there when you go there and see. So, what is the aim? Central Asia's energy reserves, mineral wealth, strategic geography. What is the strategic geography? Heartland theory, modified to the times. He knows engagement with these countries is not through tariffs or enforcement. It doesn't work. But enforcement, tariff and all will work with India, which seeks strategic autonomy. India is an unruly animal around this area. That's a different story. We'll talk of that today evening, and maybe I'll have to do a separate thing for that. I will have to do a separate thing. I have no doubt about it. Washington needs common ground with the Central Asian republics. Look at it from a different point of view. Why is Chabahar being blocked off? So that India can't approach Afghanistan and influence Afghanistan. Right? Because if Afghanistan is influenced, the mining in Pakistan, go back to the map. Let me explain. The mines in Pakistan are in this area. Let me make this map also bigger. Yeah. The mines in Pakistan are in this area. And if Afghanistan and Iran can interfere in them, push comes to a shove. Right? Hence, block Chabahar. The moment Chabahar is blocked, India's reach and Iran's reach into Afghanistan is blocked. So Afghanistan is isolated. Take over Bagram. So back to the old days where you went through Pakistan to Afghanistan and then control this area. It not going through or cutting off Chabahar also cuts off India's reach into Afghanistan and Central Asian republics. India is a soft power nation. It's got tremendous value there. And if India is cut off, Russian link is also cut off. So your pivot is being pressurized. Something which people have to understand. And then, of course, 1 week after this talk with the Central Asian republics, US starts talking with Taliban. And this comes in Wall Street Journal. And of course, now Trump himself has tweeted on 20th. All this is happening. 3 days later, Trump talked. If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Air Base back to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen. President DJT. Thank you. Thanks for your attention. Thanks for your attention. So that's his normal story, isn't it? So you see this pattern which is emerging. It's unfolding month by month, week by week. Now, that could be happening then. Simultaneously, you go back to that map. I have to take you back to that map. While all this is happening, moves are afoot here. And we'll talk of this area. Okay? We know what's happening with India. I don't have to tell too much. But look at this. So, US moves in India, set off alarms in neighbors India and Myanmar. We spoke of it yesterday evening also. We'll keep speaking of it because that situation is still evolving. Right? And this is in September, same time. The same time frame things are happening. A joint exercise in the area of Cox's Bazar and Chittagong. Yeah, this is it. This is here. Chittagong is here. Cox's Bazar is here. Exercise is here. Why do you want the exercise here? You want to get through here and get here. This is the area. What is this area? Rare earths. This is China. Shortest route to China, threaten rare earths, get rare earths. And for that, it needs India. So you're getting all kinds of pressures. Let's be very clear. There's nothing about trade in this. This is about resources. And without India, that's your ace. Our ace is this. You get this is a Lido road. The old Lido road. It comes down to Michkina from here. And there's a pass called Pangsaw Pass. Maybe one of these days I'll explain the hump and the pass and the history and see how it is. It makes interesting history, all right. It used to come here, Michina, and then go across. Japanese used to occupy up till here. Okay. In fact, Japanese had come here, Kohima, Imphal. Okay. So that route, there is talk of that route reopening. But for that reopening of that route and everything, India, Australia, and USA have to cooperate. We are still some time away from that. Can India do it alone? India can do it alone if it decides to do, but then it has to take on China. Okay. So, will India do it alone? Well, IREL chaps have gone there already. Indian Rare Earths Limited people have gone there. So, there's a new thing happening here. I've spoken of that story in a different podcast. There's yet another shift. This is an interesting shift. The pivot to Central Asia. As what is happening in Central Asia, everything is going on. 17th September, there's a conference in China. Just before that, there's a military conference in China. And just before that, Pete Hegseth says there's a significant, he indicates a significant shift in the China policy. And this gets reported where? In South China, Morning Post. It doesn't get reported in normal things. Very quietly. What does it say? What does this report talk of? It says the language Hexeth used during a call with his Chinese counterpart Dong Yun was unprecedented. In fact, around the time when the military conference was being held it was in Jiangshan in China around the same time, Hexeth speaks to Dong Yun. Okay, Dong Yun is the what um, PLA Minister of Defense of China, and the word used is unprecedented. What has Hexeth conveyed? And he says it. He has made it clear that the USA does not seek conflict with China. This is something new. Nor is it pursuing regime change or strangulation of the PRC. The first talk with Dong Yun, this is what he says: don't worry, I'm not going to change your regime, I'm not going to pressurize, I'm not going to attack you. Everyone thinks Indo-Pacific is the new thing. No, it's shifted here. Around the same time, all this happening simultaneously. In Taiwan, there's a FONOPS. Okay, the 3 US ships which go through the Taiwan Strait. Earlier, a US ship going through the Taiwan Strait meant a lot of noise and talk. This time, nothing happens. No talk. It has happened. I didn't talk of it. Didn't get reflected. Nothing. So they're soft pedaling on China. And then our friend, same time, all this is happening all simultaneously. Trump speaks to Xi Jinping, and he says, I just completed a very productive call with President Xi of China. We made progress on many issues, including trade, fentanyl, need to bring the war between Russia and China to a close, TikTok deal, yeah, whoa. I will be meeting him in the APEC summit in Korea. And I will also go to China in next year. And we had a very great call. We spoke a lot of things. Yeah, whoa. But yeah, it is as if, both these guys are sitting in a bedside, in a, beachside cafe and having a drink and, seeing the sun, and there's a great viewer. That kind of a talk is coming out. And you look at the latest talk, I couldn't put it in, the latest talk of Trump in the UN General Assembly. He spoke of India and China as fueling the Russia war. But his approach to India and talk about India was far different than that with China. People are saying that he's soft pedaling on China. Is he soft pedaling on China, or is this a new approach? We don't know. I mean, this whole story is still unfolding. What we know is India is a pivot in this story. So if the 3 theaters, if I may put it, okay, if I may, I'll go back to that map. I mean, sorry, that's a map in the front. You go back, this is the Pacific theater. Here things are going quiet. Here there's unrest, but there's a thrust in between here. Is it to China or only minerals or what? Control of this. This is the heart of the Indo-Pacific. Let me tell you, I've always maintained Myanmar is the heart of the Indo-Pacific. Many people don't agree with me. The heart of the Indo-Pacific is not Taiwan, it's not Philippines, it's not India. It is Myanmar. Who controls? It's in the same way, who controls the Heartland controls the world island. Who controls Myanmar controls Indo-Pacific. The complete strategy of China will get unraveled if you control Myanmar. And we are sitting next to it and we don't even think of it. This is where I find fault with our own system. We are not outbound. And this is what I spoke yesterday also with Sri Iyer and Harimohan Iyer on P. Guru's show. If you are outbound, Pakistan by now would have been cut to size. If you are outbound, China would have been on the back foot. You have to be outbound. Outbound doesn't mean that you take your militaries and hang around there. You can do it politically, geopolitically, people to people contact. Have we done this? So we'll go back to the. Sorry. Right? And then this. Now the strategic pact between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. As per Aisha Siddiqa, it's about Iran and it has been blessed by US and it is not against by China and all that. This could be well true. Yesterday evening, I spoke to you people. In my podcast. Have a look. I spoke about the Sino-Pakistan Arab axis. Now I'm speaking of exactly something counter to that. Both are taking place simultaneously. We're talking of the US game. The US game in this area and the Chinese-Pakistan game in the area are at counter to each other. So what is the US strategy? And what is the Chinese strategy? Even Chinese today have stopped speaking about, Taiwan and all that. They're also gravitating this side. They see an opening with Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. Have they created it? Or has Trump created that axis? Or has Saudi Arabia and Pakistan together are playing a double game? All three options are open. But we have to understand these great games which are being played. I have no doubt about it. What about India? Look at what India story. Someone tweeted, I just picked up issues. I thought there was sense in this. USS and Trump both are frustrated with India on its, stance on strategic autonomy. We are not giving them access to agriculture or dairy. We are not shifting to US crude. And today also someone came out and says we want them to buy our crude and, the American, India to buy our crude and get away from Russia. The game is very clear. We are not opting for American weapons over others. So all this has got us 25% tariffs. India is a dead economy. Then the buying Russian oil has jacked it to 50%. Then this tweet which came out, we lost India after the SEO summit. Then suddenly Modi is my friend. But Modi is my friend, my attack dogs will still bark about India. Now target TCS, Infosys, HCL, Wipro, all these over the H1B, through the H1B route. Then enforce sanctions on Chabahar. Mutton Jeff pressurizing India. Somehow, India has to be part of the game towards Myanmar. Pakistan has to be part of the game towards Central Asia. India should not be part of the game towards Central Asia. Because that upsets the Chinese, that upsets the US plan. They're more comfortable dealing with the rogues in Pakistan. Slowly, and of course, create problems. I don't know. We have to look into it in great detail about what's happening in Ladakh and maybe other places. There's a soft pattern. I think I've established the pattern. You're hitting India's soft spots. You're hitting into India's critical areas. Bangladesh is critical to India. The Siliguri corridor. And simultaneously threatening China. Then the intensive HT sector, the IT sectors, that's being hit. What is your export, major export, labor and things like that, all being hit. Somewhere he wants Indian resistance to break. Will that happen? That's $1 million question, right? We don't know. So we are in a situation where there are a lot of games being played by a lot of people. Yesterday, I spoke to you about the Sino-Arab Park axis. Today, I am speaking to you of the US great game here. Of course, the US great game has got a larger span. There's no doubt. What is China's take on this whole story? China is playing another game called through the GGI, the Global Governance Initiative. And it's gone ballistic over it. Every day I see articles coming out on GGI, and they sense an opportunity. A lot of things are in motion. Even the Chinese are worried about India. In fact, today I read an article about India being the fifth pole. So we'll examine that also. Because what's happening around us, inside us, and in a neighborhood and in a far neighborhood is a new great game which is going on. Not necessarily the Halford McIntyre variety. But everyone is caught in a revolution. Of course, China is actually in the worst position. And there is heavy involution on, and there is this great game going on for global governance. Will China get split into two? Or split between these two, the involutory forces and the global governance initiative ambition? How will they handle that is to be seen. So we have interesting analysis coming. All this analysis is counterintuitive. I'm sure many don't speak about it, but this is the way I see it. Right? And then through all this, we have to grow. All this, there's going to be pressure on us. There's going to be pressure on the military. There's going to be pressure on our economy. There's going to be pressure on our people. There's a pattern. Okay? I'm not saying they're against only India or it's a foreign hand. There's a larger pattern in which we fit. How do we handle it is the $1 million question.